little echo, I thought, on Ryan just then, but
Shalom, covenant keepers, children of Israel. You're listening to Awaken to Torah Ministries, where spirit and truth converge. We are a listener-supported ministry and ask that you prayerfully consider supporting this work. This ministry is focused on revealing the message of Torah as taught by our Jewish Messiah, Yeshua. Your donation will be used to further the ministry devoted to exposing the lies that we have inherited from our forefathers, as Jeremiah 16:19 clearly declares. You can contact us at 77690 South 4680 Road, Stillwell, Oklahoma 74960, or join our mailing list at awakentotorah@gmail.com. We look forward to meeting you when we once again are sheltered by a cloud by day and on fire by night, on our way to Jerusalem. Shalom Aleichem, and we'll see you there.
All right, Shalom Aleichem, Covenant Keepers and Children of Israel. Welcome to the Tents of Israel. I'm your host, James Gillespie. And tonight we have Mr. Ryan Nolan, we have Mr. Chris Jones in here with us. Mr. Ryan Nolan will be joining us shortly. He got in a little bit late and had to get him a bite to eat. Even superstars have to have sustenance every once in a while. So we'll let him back in here in a few minutes, but I'm going to jump over here on the monitor, Samsung monitor. Nope, that's the wrong monitor. How about the Skype call? Hey, there we are. There's Mr. Chris Jones joining us tonight. Chris, I wanted to, we're in one of those little lulls, and they're not comfortable for me. I don't like them. I like that even keel where either we're just kicking butt and taking names, or we're just taking a break. That middle ground is not comfortable for me. So that lull makes it a little bit because it's the anticipation. When I was growing up, my parents celebrated Christmas. And that anticipation of Christmas morning, sitting there trying to open up, worried about what I was going to get, or what I more so that commercialism, what I wasn't going to get for Christmas. That anticipation caused me anxiety, and that's where I'm at right now. I have a little bit of anxiety when Yahweh puts me in these lulls, and I know that it is a pruning and it is a regrowth process. It's still uncomfortable. But in thinking about that, I put a little post on Facebook today or yesterday or whenever it was. I've tried not to be on Facebook so much here lately. I seem to get in trouble more on there than I do good anymore. But I was kind of joking around, but kind of not joking around. Said I have a problem. I have a severe allergy to weak men who have been emasculated and masculine women, and that gets me in trouble because people, even in the faith, even in Torah observant believers, fix my camera a little bit here, see if I can, anyways. Even in the Torah observant community, though, it seems that we want traditional roles in marriage. We want the husband to go out and work every day. We want him to be the protector, provider. We want him to be everything that the traditional role of a husband is supposed to be, except for the man in the relationship. And when we start promoting man in a masculine sense, that's toxic masculinity. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
I mean, I think I have it.
I think I was born with it. Never got whooped out of me, I guess.
No.
Here's the thing. I am so unbelievably attracted to women who love their traditional feminine roles, and they want to walk in those roles. I know that I have found a woman like that. I know you found a woman like that. I know most of our community has found women like that. We're truly blessed in our community. However, when we start, reaching outside of our community a little bit, it's like we're living in 1930 Germany, and Germany is plagued with feminazis. Because they absolutely want to destroy you. I mean, you cannot say certain words in their company. If you say them, you're done. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I believe that is a spirit of strong delusion that has been placed over the American feminist woman. And it's not their fault. That's the whole thing. It's not their fault. It is weak men who have abdicated their role in this society for being the men of their house. I mean, I'm not saying how your marriage needs to look. Okay, yeah, that's not what I'm talking about here. Some marriages, the wife's a doctor and the husband's a ditch digger, and they need somebody to stay home and raise their kids. Well, who should stay home and raise the kids? The husband, of course. The mother can provide a better living because of her education and her skills, if that's what they choose. They could live on the ditch.
I still struggle with that one, James. I don't not 100% sure that I agree with you on that one.
Well,
I mean, yeah, they might make more financial money, but it's still, I don't want the woman outside the home, and I don't necessarily think that many men, I haven't known many men that are built for the patience and the staying home and the nurturing that the woman is.
No, I 100% agree. I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
I mean, I think that if we get caught up in the materialism, which we have, the whole world, especially Americans, that they might think that, yeah, the woman who, went and got her degree would be better served to make, 6 figures as opposed to somebody making an honest $50,000 a year ditch digging living. But man, I just really think, and me having not had a mom growing up, when I was younger, living, it was just me and dad. I mean, he was working. Yeah. It's just like, I needed that feminist aspect or that feminine aspect of that tenderness of a mother, I'd say, there with me more often.
No, that's that. I hope that I didn't misconvey what I was trying to say there. I personally, I'm saying for me and my marriage,
yeah.
If my wife was a doctor, I would still want her to stay at home, even though I'm a ditch digger making $45,000 a year.
Yeah.
But that's me, and that's my wife, and so what I was trying to convey there is I'm not going to stand in judgment over a husband and a wife who have made that decision. That was the point I was trying to make with that.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'm not going to call that man weak. I'm not going to call him emasculated. I'm not going to call him those names that I might call other men. If that's a decision that they have come to together. And not one that he was emasculated into making. That's my point in that conversation.
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Because of that that spirit of the feminazi, a woman can do anything a man can do. Okay, whatever. I mean, I would disagree in some instances, but that's all right. But let's say that you're correct. There are things that a woman, in my mind, can do far better than a man. Chris just mentioned one. That mothering, nurturing aspect, I don't have it. I tell the story when I'm teaching about covenant relationship. I tell the difference between a mom and a dad raising a child. The child, is 2 years old. Mom's in the kitchen cooking, and it doesn't matter how many times that 2-year-old comes over to the stove. The mom is, hey, get back, that'll burn you. So you grab its hand, swat its hand. Hey, get back, that'll burn you. Get back, that'll burn you. And that child can do that 30 times, and that mom is just going to swat its hand, get back, that'll burn you. Well, dads are different. The second time he reaches out to touch that fire, I'm going to stick his hand in the fire a little bit and let him get a little burn. I'm not going to let him get hurt, but I'm going to let him feel what that fire feels like. That way he has the experience of it. So I don't have to worry about every time I turn my back, him trying to go get on that stove and maybe dump a hot boiling thing of grease off on him or something. That's the difference between dads and moms. A mom has that nurturing aspect that she's willing to be patient and long-suffering most of the time. And a dad says, I love you, and I love you so much, I would rather you experience a little bit of pain than experience all of this pain at once. We're able to see our children go through pain and love them through that pain. A mother with true mothering instincts can't. She feels probably worse than the child that got hurt does, because they have that mothering, nurturing instinct about them. But that spirit that runs wild, that's just one spirit. We have these spirits of the holy one upper. I don't know if you ever run into the. I give these spirits names. They don't have names. I give them names because they're similar. I call it the spirit of the holy one upper. It doesn't matter what Chris has done. It doesn't matter what James has done. The holy one upper always is going to come by and say, well, you raised the dead, I raised 10. I mean, that's the holy one upper,
Yeah.
It's a spirit. And we run into all of these different spirits on a daily basis. Walking through Walmart or one of these malls, you see the way people look at you. And I don't know if it's because most of the time I'm wearing a kippah and tzitzit, and they just don't like Jewish men. I do know. Most of the time I do know. It's a spirit that is confronted by my spirit, because our spirits are doing battle and doing war against those spirits on a daily basis, because those spirits are right there waiting to destroy your wife and my wife and me and our children. They are ever present, waiting at the door. And if we as men do not continue to hold that standard, those spirits can and will take control of us the same way it is taking control of other people as well.
Well, like you always say, James, that the Jezebel spirit never comes without an Ahab.
That's right. You
so
can't.
I mean, they're always coming in pairs, at least. I mean, probably typically more. But we're talking about feminism. I actually I just read a book recently, and I've assigned it to my wife and children here. I don't know if we can see it. It's called Occult Feminism. You can't read it back.
I actually saw it. The Occult Feminism.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The secret history of women's liberation, the suffrage movement. It starts talking about and it's written by a woman who is a believer in Messiah, and it just talks about the occult background of it, and that it was such a push back to get feminism in the mainstream. Most of the women didn't want women's suffrage, and they didn't want equal rights, so to speak, because they knew what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a small group of women. It's all backed in Hinduism and occultism and witchcraft. It's the maiden mother. What is it? The maiden mother and hag. I can't remember what the old maiden mother and something witch theory, where you start out young and then you get pregnant and then you get old. But it's amazing just the history that she goes through in this book, and just shows the roots of this demonic spirit's what it is. I mean, it's just turned America upside down. I mean, I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers the other night, and it's just, and he's a black man, and the black women just run black men off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the black women ask, why are the black men going with the white women? It's like, well, y'all are running them off because y'all are so strong. And the majority of your children, your young men, are killing themselves off, or they're ended up in prisons because they don't have a strong male figure there, because the woman is so strong that she's just berated the man and run him off, and he wants nothing to do with his children even. So it's like, it's definitely a wicked spirit. I mean, and it is in the Messianic movement. It is in the Christian church. It dominates the Christian church. And I honestly feel like the Messianic movement is somewhat dominated as a matriarchal hierarchy that needs to be shut down, because that's just not the biblical model. Yeah. And am I any way, shape, or form talking bad about women? Absolutely not. I mean, they're so necessary and so magnificent. I mean, I have a ton of daughters myself.
Yeah.
But trying to teach this, because they've just been inundated with our society. They don't even realize, like when you read this book they're reading, going, man, I didn't even know that these are the origins of the things that I didn't even realize I was believing. It's like exposing the lies that it's been embedded in them through osmosis. I mean, it's scary stuff, really, when we realize how indoctrinated we are, and they've made men fearful to speak against it, because now you're a wicked woman hating, beaten woman beater. You know,
that's where I want to go.
Burn in hell. I mean, okay.
So I want every woman listening to this first and foremost to hear what I'm saying. Okay. Because anytime the word submission or we get on this topic of Jezebel and Ahab, automatically these walls go up because there is such a spirit of control. Okay. I it's just that dominating spirit of control that look when the Messianic movement began and people started trying to set their houses back in order, and it went way too far the other way, and men became domineering, controlling, and all of the negative aspect of that. That is not what I am conveying here. Okay. A woman in her proper role, a man in his proper role, the way the Bible has established them, is the greatest tool for the kingdom. I'm telling you, I can, in the sense that my wife has my back, praying for me, giving me the strength, giving me encouragement, giving me wisdom, giving me all of that stuff from the background, is what enables me and empowers me to get up every day and fight this battle again. Okay, that's the truth of the matter. If she wasn't there, I don't know that I could do this on my own. I would probably I would try for a while, but it would become too hard, and I would eventually give up. I would like to think that I wouldn't, but I know that I probably would. So women in that proper role are the strongest women, but our society has flipped that on them, and you have to be a dominatrix to be looked at as a strong woman. Now you have to be in control of there ain't no man gonna tell me what to do. You have to have that mentality in your family now, from this American mentality, to be looked at as a strong woman, when nothing further from the truth could be. What the true aspect of it, a man who is not controlling his wife. I know you've heard me say this a million times, Chris, and I'll say it a million times more. Forced submission is not submission, it's control. Okay? Yahweh is not blessing you when you are controlling your wife. Okay? He's blessing you when you are leading your wife and she is submitting. That is the two keys to the game. Okay? A leader sometimes leads from the front, sometimes leads from the back. A woman, that is properly submitted to her husband, isn't being controlled. She isn't being dominated. She isn't being beat into submission. Okay, because that's absolutely demonic in its own right. Men going way overboard with their control issues. I know, as a young guy myself, I had some control issues that I had to work out because of being cheated on by this woman and that woman, and I felt like if I got with another woman, I had to micromanage every aspect of her life. Well, again, I counsel married couples all the time. Can you watch your spouse 24 hours a day? No, she can't watch you. I can't watch her. It's an impossibility. Somebody who has it in their heart to cheat is going to cheat. And I'll tell men and women, if your man is allowing himself to be in company of other women in an emotional connected way, he's not right. If your wife is allowing herself to be with other men in an emotionally connected way, she's not right. Quit blaming the woman, quit blaming the man. Blame the person who is allowing that to happen. Because a husband or a wife who is committed to each other They only want to be emotionally connected to their husband or their wife. Okay, we can be friends, but I'm talking about emotionally, intimately emotionally connected. Okay, I'm not talking about sex. I'm just talking about that connection between a husband and a wife. So when the enemy starts seeping in, he seeps in through our society. And I made a post several months ago basically saying men should not have female friends outside of their relationship with their wife, and women should not have male friends outside of the relationship with their husband. Okay, if they have friends outside their gender, they need to be the friends of. If my wife has a male friend, he needs to be my friend, like Chris or like Ryan or like Steve. Okay, that they can be her friend because I know them. I'm aware of them. I know I'm fully secure in my relationship with them, so I can remain fully secure in my relationship with my wife. Okay, and these women that say, well, if you can't be secure, you're just a weak man. No, if your wife is communicating with men outside of your relationship, that is the enemy opening up a doorway for demons to come into your life.
100%.
So it's not about control, it's about protecting things. I want to jump into this little bit of scripture, Chris, and then we'll get back on that topic. Matthew chapter 10 verse 5. This is when Yeshua is dispersing the 12. It begins, these 12. I'm going to jump over that screen so everybody can see that while I'm reading. Okay. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. Okay. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So he said, don't go to the Gentiles, don't go to the Samaritans, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. Okay, so that's a commandment when we are sent forth. Okay, now there's a lot of people that the Father isn't sending forth. Okay, he's redeemed you. You're born again. You have a mission. That mission might be right around your house, but there are those that the Father has sent forth as well. And when He sends you forth, you have this same commission that you are to heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils, and freely, because freely we have received, and freely we'll give. So, this point about casting out demons here. I was going to go into a bunch more scripture on that, but we've already got about 26 minutes here, and I just want that. I want that thought process of casting out demons to develop, because these spirits that we're dealing with, that we've talked about 2 or 3, and it's only because those spirits have been so raging around us for the last few months. Because Chris, most people don't know, about 4 or 5 months ago, or 3 or 4 months ago, calls me and said, I'm declaring spiritual warfare on every one of these witches. so ever since Chris did that, we have been fighting this feminazi spirit, and we will continue to fight it. Okay, that doesn't bother me. Now, with that said, we have to be very aware. We have to be diligent, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, these spirits that we're fighting, they're diligent. They ain't stopping. 24/7, 7 days a week. Most people know, we had whole covens of witches praying against us, literally. Sending us videos of sacrificing animals in graveyards around Halloween, cursing my name and all of this kind of stuff. Okay, when you have these people coming against you, they are spiritually trying to destroy you. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're prayed up, that you're read up, that your life is fully and wholly consecrated to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Because if you open a doorway, if you open a crack, the enemy is going to jump in there and he is going to destroy you. When we talk about that passage of scripture where the 7 sons of Sceva went out and they I guess they had saw the apostles casting out demons. And so the 7 sons of Sceva went out and, well, we could do that. We could probably make a good business out of it. Okay? So they show up. I mean, just a little James commentary. They show up to this demoniac's house and they're like, "Hey, boy, you demons, come out of him." The demon just turned around and said, "Say what? I know Jesus. I know Paul. I know Peter. I know these guys. But who are you?"
But who are you?
So
and what they commenced a whooping on them, didn't
they whooped their hind ends and said they left them naked, bruised, and bleeding. So I'm just going to tell you, spiritually, because I have let down my guard a time or two, I have been left spiritually naked, bleeding, and bruised. I don't want you to do that. If you're going through a spiritual battle and you're casting out demons, you are casting down every vain imagination that the enemy's trying to throw at you, and you're battling these demons in your own life or in the lives of somebody else, you have to go about it very cautiously. You have to go about it strategically. When you go to battle, you don't. I mean, this ain't 1830 where you just send a bunch of soldiers out on the field with one bullet to volley over at the enemy, and then they get to fire their one bullet back. I mean, that's not the way this is happening. So we need to realize that we have to be strategic in the way that we fight these spirits. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, if you're a born again believer, if you have committed your life to Yahweh, and especially if you are keeping Torah and you are trying to do the mitzvah to the best of your ability, I am telling you without a shadow of a doubt, 100%, you have the power of God in you to speak to any demon and they have to leave. The Bible tells us that. It specifically says you tell them to go and they have to go. Now, there are some demons that scripture says only come out by prayer and fasting. You need to know the difference in the two. Because if you try to go up there and tell a demon that comes out only by prayer and fasting, get out, he may take you by the seat of your pants and throw you out. I mean, that in a real way, in a physical way, not in a spiritual way. I mean, they really, literally might lay hands on you and leave you like the 7 sons of Sceva. So you better spiritually know what kind of demon you're dealing with. But most of these spirits, you speak to them and tell them to go, and they have to go. The problem is, are you seeking Yahweh? Now I know these demons are tricky, and they want you. They want you to think, "Oh, I am a mighty man of God," and they want you to come up to them and tell them to get out. Okay. And they have to obey. So they get out. But you didn't prepare that person to be delivered. You didn't give that person the tools that it took to stay delivered. So as soon as you leave, that person, whatever allowed that demon to come in the first place, that person, if they're not totally healed from whatever fragmented them in such a way that a demon could enter them, if they're not healed in that ear area, that demon that just stepped on the outside of the door is waiting there. And he's waiting there for you to leave. So as soon as you leave, he can come right back into that person, throw off a whistle, and bring 7 more of his friends. Because it's a whole lot easier for him to do it with 7 more of his friends than he is to do it by himself. Okay? So you may be delivering them, but you are actually imparting demons into them if you don't know what you're doing. Okay, we have to know what we're doing. The apostles, when Yeshua sent them out here, he had fully furnished them. He said, freely they have received. So they had received the gift of knowing how to deal with demons, how to heal people, how to set the captives free. They had learned all of the processes before he sent them out. Whoever he sends, he qualifies. Okay? So you need to realize that. And I'm telling you, I've made a million mistakes in my life and in my ministry, that if people will learn from those examples, they won't have to repeat them. Okay? I always told my son growing up, Caleb, the definition of lunacy is to do the same thing expecting a different result. I'm going to change that up a little bit on you. If you cannot learn from the mistakes of others, you're a dummy. Okay? I don't need to get hit in the face with the baseball bat to know that getting hit in the face with the baseball bat hurts. I've seen somebody else get hit in the face with the baseball bat. I can tell it hurts. I don't need that experience. So when somebody tells you that they have lived through something, they have experienced something, and they try to convey that to you, they're trying to save you from that pain. And I will tell you, at one point in my life, I was dealing with a woman who was severely demon possessed and just got tired of it. I've told Chris the story before, I think. Just got tired of it. Laid my hands on her, cast the demons out of her. Wasn't time. Wasn't season. She wasn't ready to. She hadn't received the healing that she needed. And because of that, she was perfectly fine for over a year after that. But then after a year after that, she started talking about, well, my dad did this and my brother did this. And all of that unforgiveness was still there that allowed those demons to come in the first place. And all those demons came right back with 7 of their buddies. And I mean, that person is not the same person today. So the Father taught me a valuable, valuable lesson through that. And I hope that you learn through that lesson that although we have the power, Yeshua had the power to, all he would have had to say when he was here was, everybody be healed. And guess what? Every blind eye would have been opened, every deaf ear made to hear, every lame person made to walk, every woman with an issue of blood, everybody would have been healed if he would have just said, everybody be healed. That wasn't his will, though. So we need to seek the Father first and foremost for what his will is in that person's life before we start pulling demons out of them. Okay? We need to find out what allowed those demons to come in, how to heal that area in their life, because the first part of that commission was heal the sick. And somebody that is possessed with a demon, it's because they're sick. It's because their spirit has become sick. They need to be healed. Whether that was from abuse by a mom, a dad, a brother, a friend, whatever. Something opened up a spiritual wound in their life that got an infection. I'm using an analogy for sure. But that demon was able to affect their life like an infection. So it's just in the spiritual realm. And we've got to heal that up. We've got to find out what it takes to pull that demon out. The same way we would use antibiotics in a physical realm, we need to use spiritual antibiotics to see what heals that area. So when that affection goes out, it can't come back in, and it can't come back in stronger than it was before. You have anything on that, Chris?
Yeah, it just makes me think of, when we're trying to get down to the foundations of what's causing people's captivity or the oppression or the spirits that have been plaguing them and potentially their family for many generations.
Let me switch over to the camera here.
Okay.
There you are.
And that's part of it. It's like, we've got to look at family history. We've got to see what familiar spirits have been following the family. I mean, it's not about going up and laying hands on people and casting demons out of them, but it is about getting to know the person. And and really finding out fundamentally and foundationally, what has happened to them personally and what has been transferred into them through bloodline iniquity,
Mm-hmm.
through family curses. I mean, the Father says that, he'll curse up to 3 to 4 generations of those who hate him. So it's like, I mean, these judgments have been cast down from above, and not necessarily are they, completely the works of the enemy, but they're judgments that have been laid forth on entire bloodlines and households that, they do need that Leviticus 26:40, that kinsman, that
Mm-hmm.
redeemer to come in and to overthrow the strongholds and the captivities that have held these families and now individuals in bondage. So it's not for the faint of heart. We know that you have to be fully invested into it, and that it's like you say, you can't just love halfway. And what did Messiah say? What greater love have you than you lay down your life for another? I mean, when we're talking about getting into this spiritual realm and really warring against these spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places, it's not as necessarily as easy or rewarding as it might be just to go out in the street and kick some dirt around with somebody. That doesn't last very long, and the pain goes away. But when you really get to knowing people and your souls get connected, and you feel and know what they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to suffer with them in that, and then deal with the spirits as they are being cast out, and then putting that balm of Gilead upon the wounds that the spirits have left as they leave to ensure that the sevenfold don't come back. It's definitely not a game, and it's not a joke, and not many people, I think, are willing to put in the effort, nor do they know how to. And I think that I really like where you're going with this, that let's learn from men like you, have been around for decades and have been doing these things, that have made these mistakes. That way that us younger folks, and those out there who are needing to be engaged and active in this war, don't make the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can absolutely turn this thing around and open up at least this territory to an outpouring of the Spirit, and a revival and a resurrection of the commandments of the Most High, and the true testimony in Yeshua Messiah.
Well, going back to that original premise of this conversation, when we were talking about this feminazi demon or Jezebel demon, whatever name we want to apply to it, same spirit that's been around for forever. We have to. That's a real common phrase for a lot of men to throw out. Well, that's a Jezebel spirit. Okay, now you've just triggered that woman. I mean, or that man. You have just set off this trigger in them that they're not going to listen to another word you say, because you didn't have a conversation with that person. You didn't realize that their dad was abusive to them and controlling and domineering and never let them have a say so in anything. Their mom, or their mom was, or somebody in their whole life, and this is the first time in their whole life that they've felt like that they've had any control of anything. And because it's the first time in their life, they're not going to give up that control easily. They're working in a wounded spirit at that point. So you have to figure that stuff out, and you have to go back in and heal that stuff, heal those hurts and heal those wounds, and give them a safe place to vent all of that stuff out, and maybe for a minute even be the whipping post that they need to get that that animosity, that anger out of them from being so demonically controlled by another human being that now they're just like, nobody's going to control me ever again. Okay, that was the enemy. That was the enemy working through somebody else to put a door in you, to put a spirit inside you. I know a little bit about your family history. You know a little bit about my family history, and the wounds that were placed in us as children has orchestrated some events in our life that now we ourselves have had to battle and try to rectify those things. Our parents didn't do it intentionally. I don't think it was the intent of their hearts to damage us in any way. But guess what? They were just humans, just like you and me. They made mistakes. They did things that if they knew how they affected us, they would have never done. I've tried to go back to my adult children and, things that I've messed up, learned behaviors, those types of things, those generational curses that you were talking about. Psychologists will tell you the child of an alcoholic is 9 times more likely to be an alcoholic than a person who didn't grow up with alcohol in their home. And it's because there's a generational curse. They either have one of two things. A child of an alcoholic either has such a disdain for alcohol that they can't be around anybody that would ever drink alcohol, or they end up becoming an alcoholic and maybe dying as an alcoholic, some of them, or having to get deliverance from that spirit later on in life themselves. And abuse is the same way. All of these things that the enemy, he's working 3 and 4 generations deep, and we're thinking about right now. So we've got to look 3 or 4 generations behind us, and then we've got to protect 3 or 4 generations in front of us. That's the hard thing. The backward looking, that's a little bit easier than the forward looking. But what about the generational curses that might come to your children or your grandchildren or your great grandchildren because of things that you have continued and perpetrated in your children's life or in your wife's lives to carry further into this thing. So when we start talking about this, I know that women hear that term Jezebel, but Jezebel's not just a spirit that resides upon women. It's a spirit that absolutely resides upon men as well. That controlling, domineering, I will be God, type spirit. Again, you don't have a Jezebel spirit without an Ahab spirit, and that spirit of Ahab can also be on a woman the same way it can be on a man. When we start recognizing the characteristics of spirits, that's why I don't call them Jezebel and Ahab most of the time. I call them a domineering spirit. I call them a feminazi spirit, because I don't even want that connotation to come up most of the time. What I want to address is this action right here that keeps repeating itself in your life. That's a problem. And the only way I can say, hey, get out of here, and it's got to go. But the only way it's going to stay gone is when you recognize it. When you recognize that spirit is trying to destroy your life, and you say, okay, I need to do the work to get healed from whatever is allowing this spirit to attack me, whether that's a spirit of cancer, whatever the spirit is, okay? You need to recognize and identify them, say, okay, I need to be healed from this in my life. This is a repeating cycle in my life that is bringing negative things into my life. I need that out of my life. And once you cut off that frequency, I know we talk about frequency sometimes, but it's like moving from FM dial to AM dial. Once you cut that frequency off, that spirit has no more access to you, because the place that it came through the last time is not there. He can't even go through the door, because he can't even get into the house to see that it's clean, because the door is sealed up and it's made completely whole because they have been healed. Even the scar is gone. That's where we want to get people to. That's where, I want to get to. That's where I want, all my brothers and sisters in the faith to get to, is to that place that we are desiring to be so close to the Messiah that the enemy, when we walk into the room, I want his knees to shake. I do. I want him trembling when I walk into the room. I want him to say, James Gillespie, I know. Chris, I know. Ryan, I know. But who are you? I want to be so known by the devil, because I want to be so close to God. I want to be so close to his throne room that the enemy knows me by my name. So that's the place that we need to be, because when we do see those things, then we can apply that balm of Gilead. We can cast out that demon, and it has no place to return. You guys got anything on that?
I'll say just step one. I mean, if people are out there listening, it's, consecrate yourself and give yourself to prayer, because like you said, if we're not spending time with the Father and receiving power from on high, from the Messiah, and gaining that authority, like you said, we've been, those who believe in Messiah have been saved, but not everybody's been sent. Not everybody's been endowed with that power.
That's right.
Yes, we have the authority, but you don't have the know-how to use it. And when you go out there trying to swing your sword around, you're going to get smoked. So,
like giving a 2-year-old a loaded pistol.
That's right. Not doing that. So,
yeah.
Get connected with the Father in serious prayer and intercession for people that you're concerned about before you go trying to use all your wise words.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they just do more damage than they do good. So prayerfully seek the Father, and He will reveal to you the place of captivity, the keys that will get them out, and the process of escape out of the labyrinth of the prison that they've remained in for a long time.
Well,
I think that's the missing factor. We've got to seek Him for it. And is it time? Is it even our place? Because we want to deliver everybody, but I mean, look how many people Messiah walked by.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't delivered. I mean, Peter delivered some. Yaakov delivered some.
Hey, that lame man.
Some.
I point out this to people. That lame man, Scripture says that he was laid at the gate daily. How many times did Yeshua go to the temple?
I guarantee he saw him.
He walked by him maybe 1,000 times.
No telling how many.
He never reached out and took him by the hand and said, "Get up and walk. Silver and gold have I none, such as I have give I thee." He never said that to that lame man. He allowed Peter to do that, right? Okay.
Maybe it wasn't even. I mean, maybe Yeshua couldn't even do it. Like I said, there's more to meets the eye here. I mean, we can say, yeah, he could heal everybody, but I don't necessarily know he'd go against the will of his Father in some of those places. So it's like some of the work that it has to be done by us, and it wasn't his. Like you said, he wasn't sent to anybody but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Of course, he wasn't going to go lay hands on any Gentile at that point. That's not his mission.
Wasn't his mission.
It is now. I mean, it is now through us.
We see this. We don't have much time left here, but we see all this evil in the world, and this week has been a rough week for me, because I mean, most people who know me, they know I have basically two passions in my life. I love Scripture and religious, and I mean anything to do with Yahweh. Yeah, I'm on board. But my secular superpower is politics, and I love talking about politics. I love following what's going on. And Donald Trump yesterday, many of you probably already know, got convicted of 34 felonies. 34. Yeah, that's enough to put this 80, or not quite 80, soon to be 80-year-old man in jail for more than his lifespan. For nothing. I mean, literally for nothing. They can't even say it was a clerical error. That's the problem. I mean, Michael Cohen was a legitimate bar-certified attorney who was doing work for Donald Trump personally. For him personally. Okay. Now, do I agree, with, I don't even know. I don't know if Donald Trump slept with the prostitute. I've told people this 100 times. I'll tell it to them 1,000 more. I'm not electing a pastor. I'm electing a president. There's a big difference. Okay. In fact, I think that anybody that would run for office, there's something not right in their head anyways. And even though I love politics, I would never do it. I ran for. I was on a school board once, and I ran for a school board, and the things that they wanted me to do, I just like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. So if that's what you got to do to be in politics, I don't want to be in politics. Now I love to watch it, but I'm not going to lie, cheat, and steal just to get some office. So you know, I think that I am street savvy enough to understand that a billionaire, and not a bad looking billionaire either, can probably have most women. Okay, and especially, I don't know any other way to say that what she was. I mean, we can't even say she was a porn star anymore. She's an adult sex worker. I don't know what that's about. The Bible says she's a whore. So a billionaire that she admits that she was trying to obtain a job from. So she was returned. If he slept with her, I don't even know. He claims he didn't. Okay, he may not have. It may just be some big extortion racket. I don't know. But if he did, so what? Seriously, I mean, so what? His attorney didn't want that to come out in the news media because they were afraid it would damage his chances of being elected. So his attorney decided that he would cover that story up. And then, unbeknownst to Donald Trump, mortgaged his house, took a second mortgage on his house for $130,000 and paid the prostitute off to keep her mouth shut. And she had to sign an NDA. But then when he becomes president, magically the NDA doesn't matter anymore because she wants more money. She's run through that money, so she needs more money. So she's going to come back and try to extort him again. But Donald Trump doesn't know any of this. And when they put down because Michael Cohen, just like any attorney, especially for a large corporation, sends him an invoice, he pays the invoice. Because he paid his bills, now he's guilty of 34 felonies. It doesn't make sense to me. That does not make sense to me. Ryan, you send me an invoice for something and I pay you, now I can go to prison for that. So I can't pay anybody. I can't pay my electric bill anymore because I'm afraid I'm going to go to prison for it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just exposure. I mean, it is exposing that criminal system that they have in New York. I mean, it's putting it out on trial. You know, it's just, that's just all it can be. I mean, it's just full exposure. You got the left jumping ship. You got a bunch of the left donors are now stroking Trump checks for $300,000 at a pop. You know, he raised $34 million yesterday. I mean, it solidified his presidency, is what it did.
Yeah, 800 million from, sorry, 800,000 from one donor, and said that if he could give more, he would give more.
Yeah.
But that's all the election people would let him give. I mean, it's craziness. This whole trial. The point about, talking about this spiritual aspect that has taken over this whole nation. It goes back to Scripture, where Scripture says that it will be in the day that they call good evil and evil good. Okay? That's what we see happening. I mean, we can't even abide by our own laws now because we're trying to get some man. Okay? And those who know me know I can't stand Joe Biden. But if this same thing was happening to Joe Biden on the other side, I'd be screaming just as loud. Because it's craziness. I mean, it is literally craziness that They want to talk about Putin and Putin being an evil dictator and killing his opponents, everybody who runs against him, and throwing him in jail. What is Biden doing right now? I mean, he's literally trying to throw his opponent in jail for the rest of his life. I mean, this is third world Gestapo banana republic stuff. Is this America that we live in now? I'm not sure anymore.
No. But I think they've just figured it out that it's going to backfire them, because now it sets precedent, for Bush to be looked at, Clinton to be looked at, Obama to be looked at. It just opened the floodgates. Well, now we can go after all of them.
But we won't, though, because the Republicans are already saying, well, when Trump gets in office, we need to restore the law and order. We can't be going after our political opponents. I mean, they're already starting that mess. I mean, so here I said the other day, we need to burn this swamp down. I mean, burn it down to atomic ashes, and look at everywhere that there was a crack in it and rebuild it. That's what we need to do. That's the only thing that's going to work. And that's not going to work either. The only thing that's really going to work is when Yahweh's kingdom comes. I mean, ultimately, that's all that's going to work, is when His kingdom is here, ruling and reigning. That's going to be the ultimate goal. But where we're at right now, I mean, I never thought in my lifetime. And for the last 4 years, I mean, we've heard all of the, all the background conspiracy stuff and all this kind of stuff. The crazy thing is this judge, it would not surprise me, even though CNN, ABC, all the liberal media out, well, they're not going to really throw him in jail. They just want to get him marked as a felon. This judge, it would not surprise me one bit if he literally throws Donald Trump in jail on July the 11th. It will not surprise me a bit if he does that. And he has the power to. I mean, technically, Donald Trump was judged by a jury of 12 of his peers to be guilty. He technically, even though it's going to be overturned, I mean, anybody in their right mind knows that this is going to be overturned. But until it is, which anything, I mean, that could take 2 years for it to be overturned. So they could literally put this 78-year-old man who didn't take a salary for 4 years while he was president of the United States, has cost himself over $1 billion in being the president of the United States. They want to put him in jail, possibly for up to 2 years before this thing is overturned, and far after the president is elected. And it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me if they threw him in jail, cheated again in the 2024 election, put another Democrat in office, left him in jail until it got overturned, and then he's going to be too old to run for president again. He'll be, 83 years old in 2032? Or 2028. 2028 would be the next election. So I don't know, guys. I think that this country is done. If something doesn't happen and doesn't happen quick, and I don't even know if we can make it to the election. I mean, right now he's up in the polls. 15 points in almost every swing state. They know they're going to lose. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, what's next? Put a nuclear bomb off in the United States just to create chaos so they can cancel the election altogether? I mean, that's about their next recourse. Yeah, some big black swan event.
Yeah, they're not going to allow an election. I mean, there's going to be a black swan event of something. I mean, that's what we got to prepare for. Whether the black swan event is a bomb going off, or whether it's just the crash of the dollar in the markets. I mean, one or the other is going to happen, or maybe both. I don't know, but yeah, the left does not want the election. They know they're going to lose, regardless. So I don't see us getting to the election. I don't even know that we're going to get to the sentencing part in July. I mean, it's a powder keg. It's getting ready to blow up. Because I mean, that's the nail in the coffin for most patriots. They're not going to put up with it. So what happens? I don't know.
Well,
the word on the street today, with just going around talking to people.
I am very dismayed at this point. I'll just be honest about it. I am so sick of hearing about patriots, because for less than a 1% tax that England was going to apply on tea, just on tea. Now, nothing else, just tea. They were going to put a tax on tea. The American Revolution came about. I mean, people need to go back and understand what happened with the Redcoats. Over tea. We have a corrupt government going against their own laws. I mean, handpicked a judge in the most anti-Trump district in the United States to try Donald Trump. Would not give him a change of venue, would not recuse himself, even though he has paid money to Biden to get elected. Even though Biden's campaign is paying his daughter millions of dollars, there is no conflict of interest in his mind, and he doesn't need to recuse himself. Everybody knows that this is going to be overturned. It has to be. I mean, 100%. The question is when? Do they throw him in prison? Do they change the laws to say, okay, we need a ratification of the states to say we're going to change the Constitution that a convicted felon can't be president, therefore nullifying him from becoming president? I mean, they can do all these things. They literally have control of the courts at this point. If they can call a convention of states and ratify the Constitution, they can make this thing a literal banana republic overnight.
Yeah, I agree. They could.
I'm saying let's all pack up, move to the Philippines, where at least we know we're going into a third world country. So, I mean, if you've ever been to one of these countries, Belize, Philippines, which I like Philippines and much better than Belize, but they call them third world countries, but they got paved roads, they got running water, they got electricity, they got internet. Everybody in those countries got a cell phone in their hand, just like everybody in this country got a cell phone in their hand. What makes them a third world country? I mean, they're basically living the exact same way we're living right now. So, I mean, except for, I think that there's this whole patriot thing. If we do not stand up and do something quick, we need to throw some tea into the harbor. That's exactly what I'm saying. The tea needs to be thrown into the harbor, and we need to set this ship right. If we don't, I don't think we got 4 years. I honestly do not think this country has 4 years. If we don't, November the 5th, get Donald Trump in office, I don't think we have 4 more years. I honestly don't. And to keep my family safe, I'm actually making plans. Abandon ship. I mean, I can't save the ship by myself. You and Chris and me can't save the ship by ourselves. So maybe we just abandon ship and get on a dinghy and go somewhere else. I don't know.
I'd much rather take a plane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on here. The crazy thing is it's like the kingdom of heaven is shut up against me as well, because all the times before I could just pray and seek the Father, and the Father would give me some kind of clarity or some kind of peace or something. I have no peace. I have no insight into any of this. Everything that I thought was going to happen hasn't happened, and I need clarity. But why? And it's not just me. It's almost every other believer that I know hears the voice of God. It's like they're saying the heavens are shut up against me. When I go to the heavens to ask a specific question, it's like no answer. He's telling me about other things, but he's not telling me about that. Whatever it is that I want to know, he's not telling me about that. He's only telling me about what he wants me to know. So that's I don't know. It's an awkward and uncomfortable place to be. And we started this show off about an uncomfortable, this lull being an uncomfortable place to be. And I don't know what it is. The families that I've known for a long time are struggling. Marriages are ending. I mean, the enemy is just attacking on all fronts. Whether it's in a believer's family, a sinner's family, it doesn't matter. It's like there is this all-out assault on anything that is holy, anything that is righteous, anything that is good. There's an all-out assault on it. We're going to have to raise up a standard about something. And I'm not talking just about believers' marriages. I'm talking about people been married 30, 40 years, sinners. I mean, hang out at the bars. And one night the wife just says, "I'm done. I don't want to be with you anymore." You gonna be with somebody for 30 years and decide you don't want to be with them anymore? I think I could have made my mind up about 25 years previous. I don't know.
So some GMO onions. Onion, right?
I guess so. I don't know. It might be all that aluminum that they're spraying in the air. Yeah. Let's just jump into all the conspiracy theories. GMO onions and aluminum make a chemical that makes people's brains fried or something. I don't know what's going on. But
I don't either.
It's crazy the way that everything is going. We're about 10 minutes over here. But Mahala said, how do we know when something is actually a spirit or a demon? How do we know the difference in a spirit or sickness of our own? Yeah. So I want to answer that because that is the big question. Because some people, like most people that deal with demonic possessions and that kind of stuff, everything's it's like a carpenter. Everything's a nail and a hammer when you're a carpenter. I can fix anything with a nail and a hammer. To somebody who is gifted in seeing demons and spiritual aspects, everything's a demon. But the simple reality is sometimes, especially with mental illness, sometimes it is simply a chemical imbalance in somebody's brain. It's not a demon. It's just it's no more than me having allergies or somebody having diabetes. It's something that needs to be healed in their life. So trying to cast out a demon with somebody who just has a chemical imbalance in their brain, you're going to damage them. I mean, that's why we were talking about earlier is you have to go to the Father. It may look like a demon. It may appear as a demon, a spirit of infirmity. So, I don't really get specific about different sicknesses, okay? Whether it's a mental illness, allergies, whatever spirit that is. I just call it a spirit of infirmity. And if it is a spirit of infirmity, you can speak to that spirit and it has to go, and that person's immediately better if it was just a spirit of infirmity. But when you tell that spirit to go and they're still dealing with, maybe seeing things that aren't there or hearing things that are not there, there's something in their brain that needs to be healed. And you telling them that it's a demon, you are damaging that person. You don't know what you're doing. You need to stop. That's what I'm gonna tell you. You just need to stop, because you are far more dangerous than that person is. I know that might sound a little harsh, but it is. That's just the way it is, because you are going to damage that person further. So you need to speak healing into their life. You need to go back and say, okay, what are you eating? What's your diet like? I mean, because all of that stuff plays into it. And if you are not a doctor and you don't understand the chemical makeup of a human body, and you're trying to say that everything's a demon, I think that you're in the wrong place. We noticed that Yeshua, he didn't cast out a demon. He said, "You're healed." That's when he cast out a demon, he told the demon, "Go." But when somebody just needed healing, he said, "You're healed. Go and sin no more." So we need to know the difference, whether they need deliverance or they need healing. And if you're not seeking the Father before you're trying to offer one or the other, then you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, you're gonna have to be very careful in that. I hope that answers your question, Mihaela. Servant of Yahweh, Occult Feminism, The Secret History. Oh yeah, you showed that book. Yeah, that's a.
Say what? That's me.
I seen that.
That's my head.
That's a. Everybody try to read that book.
Good read.
And quit if you see these men running around, Jezebel this and Jezebel that. Men, be the Samson of your time. Have the stones to stand up to those men and say, "Hey, are you doing this right? Are you approaching this right? I mean, have you talked to this person? Have you offered the counseling? Have you?" I mean, all of those things have to come into play before you just start Jezebel. It's craziness. We see all this crazy stuff going on. We have all these men just attacking these women, and that's got to stop. I mean, that 100% has got to stop. But at the same time, you men, you're going to have to start standing up and being the men that Yahweh chose you to be. Okay. And if you've abdicated your role for 10 years, don't think you're taking it back in 10 minutes. It's just, that's not the way that happens. You're going to have to gently persuade her that you are more than capable of being the man of your house that Yahweh chose you to be. You can't just jump back in there after abdicating your role for 10 years and go, "Oh, I found my gonads." It's not going to happen that way.
They finally dropped.
They finally dropped, I guess. That kind of stuff is silliness. So we see a lot of men trying that, and it ends up damaging their marriages. So you don't want to damage your marriage. You want to sit down and have honest conversations with your wife and your husband. You two know each other better than any counselor ever could. Okay. What you need to do is open up the lines of communication. Every insecurity that you're having, every insecurity that she's having, those things just need to be thrown out on the table. They do. And they need to be explored. And where you are weak, men, you need to admit that. I mean, I don't want to admit I'm weak anywhere. I just don't.
That's a weakness, Jay.
That's a weakness. That's a weakness. So I just trying to come to terms with saying, hey, yeah, I was wrong in that area, but I'm gonna try to be better in it, and I need you to help me be better in it, because that's my place as your husband. I shouldn't have ever abdicated that to you. When you approach them that way, you're going to get a lot more honey. If you approach them the other way, you're going to get a lot more stinger. That's the way that thing works. And I mean, you married her because you loved her. So why are you going to try to damage her when you're trying to make things better? Got to approach this thing with soft hands. Women need a soft hand. They need a strong man with a soft hand. If that makes sense. With that said, have you guys got any more on that?
Nope, I don't.
All right. So I guess they're 17 minutes after here. We're going to burn rubber out of here. We love you, not as much as Yahweh does. We'll see you next time on the Tents of Israel. Be blessed. Shalom Aleichem. We'll see you next time. Let me see if I
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Yeah. Yeah, Shabbat shalom. Let me see if I can remember how to get out of here. All right. There's outro.